If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
Every day you're walking by and I can see how you shine. Here I am alone with nothing but a dream that you are mine. Just exactly what I'll do, I don't know, baby, but I gotta find a way to breathe. Tell me what I gotta do to get to your house. Tell me where I gotta go to be with you. Tell me what I gotta say to speak to your heart. Tell me what I need to know tonight.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
The Audio Genius.
Get in on the conversation with Rufus Williams and the Morning Show at 591-1690. We are the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Good morning, and welcome to Thursday. It is the 12th of March, the year 2026. It's the Rufus Williams Show. I am Rufus Williams, and as always, thrilled, delighted, and just so excited to be here with you this morning. And thank you so much for waking up with Rufus. Everybody's in the studio, including my guest. T-Dub, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Happy Thursday.
Yeah, man, you rocking Bulls stuff. For what reason? Because they won one game 2 days ago?
No, I just feel like wearing red.
Okay, red is good. Red is
exactly.
Good. Yeah, I'm wearing crimson. You know, it's a Kappa kind of thing we do. Annette, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. I'm just, really kind of looking at our weather patterns here. I mean, can you believe just a few days ago we broke a record and now we're having tornadoes and it's pretty brisk morning. Over yesterday, we had a few snowflakes. So there's a lot going on right now.
There's a whole lot going on. I will tell you, when I played golf when it was 72 degrees that day, we knew this day was coming and said, this is why we're out here. So I was actually listening to something this morning and they were talking about Washington, D.C., where it's 60 degrees right now, and they're expecting snow this afternoon. So, yeah, Mother Nature's showing her teeth. She's a little bit pissed off right now. I wonder if it has anything to do with, I don't know, missiles killing 168 children.
That might do it.
It may have something to do with that. She's showing how she's not liking how this is going. $11 billion have been spent on this war in the first 6 days. $11 billion. Perfect segue for my guest, Danielle Perry. She is the vice president of everything at the Chicago Food Depository. Here to talk about, what this actually means and the loss of SNAP benefits. Danielle, good morning. Welcome back to WVON.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So what do you think about this $11 billion spent and you're going around? I mean, you guys are feeding people every day because people don't have enough to eat. And these benefits are being cut, but this kind of money is being spent on the war. Share a thought with us, Danielle, if you would.
My thought is that hunger is a policy choice. In one of the richest countries in this world, we have enough money to make sure people can eat. And it's a decision that was made on July 4th of last year to cut the safety net as we know it, the programs that help the most vulnerable people in our society to survive. SNAP was cut by over $200 billion, Medicaid by even more. So that's a choice to spend money on this, but not support people who need it the most.
It's a clear choice. And I didn't know that number until just a short while ago. I did know that Kristi Noem spent $200 million on her ad campaign, because I was actually listening when I was watching the news this morning. All of the political ads are on, but I was happy not to see her on a horseback talking about people self-deporting. So you're right. These are just basic decisions that are being made in places. And, this is a government of the people, by the people, for the people, but it just doesn't seem like that when we leave those who can least afford it just hungry. You've been making the rounds, talking to policymakers locally about this. Talk about where you've been, what the reaction has been, and what's going on now, as you look so lovely today in your blue.
Thank you. Well, most people, when we meet them, are shocked. Even our legislators and our officials, surprised to hear that SNAP is being cut, that next year we could lose the program entirely. All 2 million people in the state of Illinois can lose their SNAP benefits as early as next year if the state does not pay $800 million yearly to keep the program going. When I meet legislators, they look at me in shock. They're like, I didn't know that happened in the big, beautiful bill. And then to hear that on May 1st, we are expecting hundreds of thousands of people to lose their SNAP benefits. People are surprised to hear that, and they're like, what can we do? What we can do is we have to spread the word. We do not want people to be in the grocery store on May 1st surprised when we could have fixed this. We could have helped them to figure out how to come up with the 80 hours a month so that they could meet the work reporting requirement, or to volunteer the 80 hours. Shocked. People are shocked.
And we did talk about that, these 3 things that people had to do, or they would lose them for 3 years if they don't do these minimal things. Are you seeing the impact of this yet at the food depository? Is this is the storm that we see coming, or what's going on?
We are seeing record number of people already hungry. So it is going to hit us even harder, because the number of people are coming are already at a record high, which means we're walking into the next crisis at the height of need.
This in the most prosperous country in the world. This is what's happening. We're talking with Danielle Perry. She is the Vice President of Policy and Advocacy for the Chicago Food Depository. We'll have more with Danielle right after this.
Show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Hi, I'm former Secretary of State Jesse White, and as a leader in government, I always focus on delivering the best possible results to the people. It took training, preparation, and teamwork to make it happen. That's why I'm asking you to join with me in supporting Pat Hines for assessor. He's been a professional assessor in and out of government his entire career. He worked at the Cook County Assessor's Office for over 20 years. He was elected as Lyons Township Assessor and considered one of the best. Pat serves the community as a volunteer firefighter. He will bring fairness to our community and to all of Cook County. He's fair, honest, and transparent. Now more than ever, we need Pat Hines training, experience, and professionalism. Vote Pat Hines, Democrat for assessor. Thank you.
For 70 years, the Humane Society of the United States has worked to end animal cruelty. Now, we're continuing that mission as Humane World for Animals, because we work around the globe to care for animals who are suffering today. And we tackle the root causes of cruelty for a kinder tomorrow. We are Humane World for Animals, and together we can make a difference. Help make change for animals. Visit humaneworld.org.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the 3rd time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Illinois, we need to be able to trust our next senator. And Juliana Stratton isn't being honest about who she is. Stratton's massive super PAC is funded by the very contractor running the Broadview ICE Detention Center. ICE raids Chicago. Stratton benefits from ICE contractor cash. Juliana Stratton even got caught lying about refusing money from MAGA donors. We can't trust Juliana Stratton. Democrat Robin Kelly is a real progressive. Unbought, unbossed.
Outstanding members of the House of Representatives, Robin Kelly.
Barack Obama knows Robin Kelly always fights for us, lowering costs, raising wages, stopping gun violence. Real progressive Robin Kelly for U.S. Senate. Endorsed by the Congressional Black Caucus and elect Democratic women. Paid for by Protect Progress and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. Protect Progress is responsible for the content of this advertising. www.protectprogresspac.com.
It's Matt McGill.
Man, I'm agitated by black people not understanding the moment that we're living in right now, as if we live in a post-racial America. And we're going to sit up here in a city like Chicago with the history of racism and bigotry and segregation. And we got nerve to complain about a black man some damn snow. In 1995, we had a heat wave. 739 people died in the city of Chicago. And guess what you Negroes did? Y'all reelected Mayor Daley 3 more times after that. Help me help you, or get out the freaking way.
Weekdays at noon on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This is your host and life coach, Linnell Harris, and I want you to join me every Sunday morning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. for Inspirational Perspective. On Inspirational Perspective, we talk life vision, life purpose, and the show is all about helping you live the best life possible. So join me as we look at supporting you in living the life you intend to live and making your life's vision a reality. Every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 a.m. WVON.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Kyle Cox started Blindster in his garage back in 2010. Since then, they've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters nationwide. Their blinds are DIY friendly, guaranteed to fit, and always cheaper than big box stores. Blindster.com.
WVON traffic and weather now. Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. We are talking to the Vice President of Policy and Advocacy, Danielle Perry of the Chicago Food Depository, just about this loss of SNAP benefits. As many as 230,000 SNAP participants in Illinois are at risk of getting kicked off the program by May 1st. We have an election now. I mean, effectively March 5th, 17th is our primary election day. Danielle, what are people saying? What are people doing? What are you hearing? Because this is really, when we think about all these things, the question is, there should be a law about this. And laws happen because of legislators. So as you hear people, as you talk to people, are those people who are running for office paying attention to what this issue is?
I think so. I think we all need to make sure that when we're voting in this primary that we're sending people first to DC who want to reverse these changes, want to reverse the big, beautiful bill. They're going to go down there and fight for that. We need fighters who are going to go down. And so we all need to be paying attention when we're voting from a DC perspective, but then also locally. We want to make sure our state reps and our state senators will support legislation that will help people in this crisis. We understand that the state cannot pay what the federal government can pay, but we would ask that people are supportive of legislation that will be some crisis support. Like we're running a bill now, the Food Depository, with Senator L.G. Sims, where we're just saying, we know this many people are going to lose their benefits on May 1st. Will you support a one-time emergency cash assistance fund that just gives people one payment that's equal to 3 months of their SNAP benefits when they get cut off? That gives us time to fight to get them back on the program, get them the job or get them the volunteer opportunity. And we need people who will go down there and support things like that. And even to consider on the county level, could they do something like continue guaranteed income? to support people who we know are about to be in crisis. So we need to look at and ask of our local and federal electeds to support issues like this work.
I love, we've got a number of legislators whose names you often hear who are involved in good things. LG Sims is one of those people. This bill changed things for a lot of people. What can people do to stay on SNAP benefits? What can they do now, and what do they need to do to stay on?
So the first thing you should do is make sure that you're in contact with the Illinois Department of Human Services. IDHS is the state department that actually manages SNAP benefits. You should go in person, you should call them, or you should go on their website today. You need to know what your income looks like in their system. They are saying they have 450,000 people who look unemployed in the system, completely unemployed. And you only have 3 months to look unemployed in their system, or you'll be cut off, like you said, for 3 years. You need to know that they have your updated income. The other thing is, if you are not working and have not found a job, you need to also think, am I somebody who qualifies for an exemption to this work reporting requirement? And there's a laundry list of things that you could be exempt for. The state made a very cool screener. It's only 4 questions. You just go answer those 4 questions, and it literally tells you, you are exempt. Go fill out this form and turn it in. Or you are not exempt. You need to find a job or a volunteer opportunity. So first, you need to contact them. Second, see if you're exempt. And then last, honestly, we need to push people to volunteer opportunities. And I think as a community, we either can get them to the site that the state has made called Galaxy Digital, where there's just going to be a list, a warehouse of volunteer opportunities that they can choose from. Or as community leaders, we need to add volunteer opportunities to that site. So we all need to be going to Galaxy Digital. If you're a church, a nonprofit, add volunteer opportunities. If you are an individual trying to stay on SNAP, you need to go and sign up so that you can find volunteer opportunities easily. So those are the 3 steps I would take if I was a SNAP user today.
Great. And then our responsibility always is to try to help spread the message. Host an informational event. Become a SNAP benefit enroller. What is that? Talk about that.
So we have at the Food Depository about 6 people who answer the phones every single day, and they can help you navigate this benefit, whether it's applying for SNAP. We also help people apply for Medicaid and WIC, or just figuring out how to deal with the paperwork. I just told you to get an exemption form. You're like, what is that? You could call our number. They can help you. But those are what we call benefit enrollers. We have them on site. You can come in person, but they're benefit enrollers across the state, typically housed at nonprofits, who will help people right in the community every single day. And so we are telling you, if you're an organization who says, look, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to sign people up for benefits, but I have space. The Food Depository will come out, and we will, if you say come on Mondays from 3 to 6, we'll come. Or if you say, look, I got some staff, we see this as a crisis. If you can train us, we'll do it. We'll come and train you as well. So somebody who can help you apply or navigate the paperwork for this program, that's what we're calling a benefit enroller. We'd love to have you join our team or have us come out and do it.
Great. And I think what you told me, I'm wearing my sweatshirt, but we have a food bank as well, which means we're going to be putting in a lot more work because a lot more people are going to need more. And, the volunteer opportunities are always great. They're pushing these different changes in this program, and we're also seeing a significant number of job losses. So it's going to just push more people into the space where they're going to need the assistance. Danielle Perry, thank you for all that you're doing. One, to get the word out and get more money in and help people try to grab on here. But it's just truly frustrating in this country that we have to have these kind of conversations about the people that we have to have them about. We talked offline about some of the veterans as well who are experiencing these things. Food is just basic, and we should not have these kinds of issues, and people shouldn't be taking it away. Thank you for the work that you do. And thanks for coming in this morning, and good luck with all your other travels as you try to help everybody understand what's in front of us.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you. Let's find out from Annette what's going on in the news. When we come back, it is Oscar weekend. We're going to have a conversation with Dr. Monica Sandler, who is an expert in Hollywood award shows. We'll be back right after this.
A brisk morning in Chicago for starters. Sunrise happened at 7:08. Good morning. I'm NF Lenoy, and here's what's happening. Crews are back out this morning following those powerful storms that ripped across the area Tuesday night. Governor Pritzker is set to join local officials today to assess storm damage in Kankakee County. The National Weather Service confirmed that an EF3 tornado touched down there, causing extensive damage. No injuries were reported. However, there were at least 2 deaths reported in other areas. Well, primary election day is Tuesday, and the deadline to vote by mail is today. And with just days before Election Day, Congresswoman Robin Kelly picks up an important big-name supporter in the tight race to replace Senator Dick Durbin. U.S. Representative James Clyburn of South Carolina joined her at a fundraiser Tuesday. Representative Clyburn is considered a kingmaker in some Democratic circles. He's credited with helping to secure the 2020 presidential nomination for Joe Biden. Kelly's rivals include Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, who's backed by Governor Pritzker. The third candidate in the race is Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi. Primary day is Tuesday, March 17th. Or earlier this week, former President Obama made it official and announced that the Obama Presidential Center will open this summer to mark the Juneteenth holiday. Now, they're looking for ambassadors to join. Perry Williams explains.
Nearly 100 ambassadors will be designated to interact with the public. The opening ceremony is scheduled for June 18th, and the Obama Center will be open to the public on June 19th. So far, 170 people have been hired and expect to start training for their assignments next week. For more information about volunteer opportunities, go to obama.org/volunteer/. I'm Perry Williams.
That's a look at our news now on 1690 WVON. Traffic and weather up next. WVON News Time, 7:34.
Tuned in to your favorite WVON personalities on Facebook Live? Don't just watch, like it, love it, share it. Every click helps us grow the conversation and keep the community strong. So remember, like it, love it, share it, Chicago.
This is Commissioner Larry Rogers, here to tell you about my friend Judge Michael Cabanargi. For years, I worked side by side with Michael to fix our property tax system and protect homeowners. We can trust Judge Michael Cabanargi. That's why he is endorsed by the Democratic Party and has the highest bar rankings in the race. Judge Cabanargi is the only candidate with judicial experience, and he deserves our vote on March 17th.
Paid for by Friends of Cabanargi.
Nubia Garcia and Somi bring fresh energy and genre-blending jazz music to Symphony Center March 13th. Tenor saxophonist Nubia Garcia is a driving force within the UK jazz scene and effortlessly weaves rich layers of Afro-Caribbean rhythms, dub, spiritual jazz, and electronic textures in a powerful sound. Daughter of East African immigrants, Grammy-nominated vocalist Somi returns home to Illinois, fusing African grooves and jazz singing. For tickets, visit cso.org/jazz.
Who is everyone supporting to be our next state rep? Democrat Asia Kearney, a lifelong South Side resident. Asia's ready to work with Governor Pritzker and fight back against Donald Trump. She's a union member, so you know she's backed by Illinois SEIU. They'll work together to bring down costs and create good-paying jobs. And Asia's a tireless advocate for good public schools. That's why Chicago Teachers Union, Illinois Federation of Teachers, and Cook County College Teachers Union are supporting her campaign. Community leaders like Commissioner Carrie Steele and Alderman William Hall support her because she's committed to keeping us safe. If you're ready to elect a leader who will work hard to bring down costs, strengthen our public schools, protect your rights, and focus on public safety, you need to be with Asia Kearney too. Cast your ballot for Asia Kearney by March 17th. American Future paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. AmericanFuture.org. Not authorized by Asia Kearney or any federal candidate or committee.
Are you an adult with uncontrolled moderate to severe Crohn's disease symptoms and still packing a backup bag of clothes? Just in case, Skyrizi Risankizumab Risa can help you take control of your Crohn's. Feel significant symptom relief, including less abdominal pain and fewer bowel movements at 4 weeks. Plus, Skyrizi is proven to help people achieve remission and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Individual results may vary. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's. Ready to take control of your Crohn's? Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's disease.
Control is everything to me.
Learn more at skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI.
Every Friday at 3 p.m., I step behind the mic with one mission: to cut through the noise. I'm David Seaton, WVON's only conservative voice, and trust me, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what you need to hear. I'm unapologetically conservative, proudly anti-progressive, and I don't deal in feelings, I deal in facts. If you're looking for sugar-coated opinions, this isn't your stop. But if you want the truth, straight, no chaser, pull up a chair. The David Seaton Show, Fridays at 3 p.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Hey everybody, this is Kendall Moore, the Kendall Moore Show, getting you from your work week to your weekend each and every Friday night from 6 until 9 p.m. I get you from your work week to your weekend. Church. Tabernacle.
Kendall Moore, radio for the next generation on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 AM, WVON.
This report is sponsored by Staples. Staples has hundreds of great ways to boost your brand, like spectacular signs, brilliant brochures, eye-popping posters, mouth-watering menus, and more. Shop now through April 18th and save up to $125 on all your custom prints. Staples. That was easy.
WVON, traffic and weather now.
Things are picking up quite a bit. You're looking at a 26-minute trip along the inbound side of the Ryan from 95th Street into downtown. You want to factor in a stall at 51st Street. The inbound Bishop Ford, 20 minutes now. You want to factor in an earlier crash on the entrance ramp at 130th. If you're on Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, look out for an accident. It's on the shoulder at Sibley. Your inbound travel time there, 20 minutes. Things are beginning to fill up along DuSable Lakeshore Drive from 67th Street to Jackson. We're seeing quite a few brake lights northbound right around Hayes Drive. Otherwise, not too bad. On the north end, Hollywood to Monroe, things are picking up right around Bryn Mawr. The inbound side of the Stevenson, a mess, pretty much solid. Now, that's mainly due to an accident blocking the left lane at Kedzie. It's creating very high travel times. You're looking at almost an hour, 20 minutes from I-355 to DuSable Drive because of it. We believe that after that's cleared, things are going to lighten up quite a bit. If you're on the inbound side of the Eisenhower, you are looking at over an hour there from Thorndale to the Burns Circle. Outbound, a 35-minute trip. The Kennedy also filling up fast, 55 minutes in from O'Hare to downtown, getting to the airport, a 43-minute trip. That's mainly due to an accident at Montrose. Taking a look at our weather, starting out brisk this morning. The National Weather Service says we will see some sunshine as temperatures climb into the near 40s today. And then tonight back down right around 29. We're holding on to the 30 degrees at Midway. Is 30 in South Shore and 30 here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flournoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. It is Oscar weekend. The nominations dropped weeks ago, and it seems like everybody has something to say. Joining me this morning is a professor at Ball State University. She's an expert on the history of Hollywood award shows, all things around it, and particularly how they impact our culture at large. It is Dr. Monica Sandler. Dr. Sandler, good morning and welcome to WVON.
Hello, good morning.
It's so good to have you. These award shows, I mean, just a few years ago, it seemed that we were certainly boycotting them because Oscar's so white. That is to some degree. Talk to us about why these award shows are so important in our culture and how they impact these different aspects of it.
Mhm. Yeah, and certainly this year is a really good showcase of how the industry has been impacted since the Oscar So White controversy. 10 years ago, we have a film like Sinners, which broke the record for the most nominations this year. So it has 16 nominations, a heavy front runner at the race this Sunday. So there has been transformations in Hollywood. The thing that I think is always really important about these events, and in some ways, they're this silly festivities, but also at the same time, they kind of hold a mirror up to what the industry is actually looking at. And one of the things that was really powerful about Oscar So White, which was a decade ago, was the ability for the event to really call attention to systemic exclusion in the industry. And I think that was what was really important. They also can be kind of a shield in that if we're looking at the Oscars are a byproduct of a much wider, problematic industry. But I think that was really powerful, particularly about social media movements, is that it really, did call attention to things.
That's so interesting. And, even given that and given the time that we're in now, it would seem that things are moving more towards or more away from diversity, given what's happening from the administration. But Hollywood seems to look at it differently, given the numbers that you've just mentioned. There's Michael B. Jordan, there's Delroy Lindo, there's Wunmi Masuku. I'm going to mess it up.
No worries.
Masaka. Yes, that's it. Masaku, Tiana Taylor, Ryan Coogler, Ruth Carter. A lot coming out of Sinners with their nominations. Tiana Taylor's her role in One Battle After Another. She's up for an actress in a supporting role, so best supporting actress. It's interesting as we look at these things. And I have to ask you this because I think about the roles that people play when they actually win, and those things kind of trouble me. Kind of troubled by Denzel, given all of his great work and the role that he ultimately won an Oscar for.
Yes.
Halle Berry won an Oscar the year after she did Dorothy Dandridge for a role playing we have different images of her from the role that she played there in Monsters Ball. And I have to tell you, those things do come to mind when I think about Tiana Taylor. And although she was a revolutionary in this movie, One Battle After Another, it was kind of the portrayal of her and the portrayal of Black women in that movie that gave me pause. Why do those things seem to take on this other aspect in Hollywood? Because it seems to, in many ways, perpetuate stereotypes that we don't like.
Yeah, I think a lot of this comes down to who's telling the story. And so much of this history is that you've had, throughout the history of Hollywood, predominantly white voices telling Black stories, and it ends up indulging in stereotypes. You also have a legacy of films like Driving Miss Daisy, and then much more recently Green Book, which was kind of the same film, which are very frequently like looking at racism and where a very racist white character learns about how to be less racist. And that essentially the way that it's been codified is that you have a mostly white membership in the Academy. And so they look for stories about diversity told from white voices that, if the white character is learning about something, then maybe the people who are watching them are learning about it. But I think what's really exciting in the past decade, of course, Sinners, but a film like Moonlight, where you're actually hearing stories from Black voices and the impact of what creating opportunity in the industry to make those films ultimately does.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just have an issue with everything because I had an issue with some of those movies as well, and some of the portrayals of people, of us, as they come through it. Who is making the decisions about who gets nominated, and who's making the decisions about who wins these awards ultimately?
Yeah, so the way that the Academy is broken down is it's based off of branch. So there are various different branches for the different fields. So if there's a best sound category, there's a sound branch, basically. And so you have the membership bodies of each one of the different branches that are then voting for the nominees in their branch, and then they vote for Best Picture. So actors are only voting for Best Actor in the nominations process, and they're voting for Best Picture in the process. When you go to the final, everyone who's a member of the Academy votes across the board for everyone, all of the different categories. And if you don't totally understand how sound mixing works, a lot of people who are members of the Academy don't necessarily either, because they're in completely different subsets of the industry, which I think shows just sort of the inherent flaws of the system that are also present there. And on the issue of diversity and representation, in 2016, when the Academy announced that they were going to overhaul diversity of their membership, when you looked at the breakdowns of these branches, like the percentage of like minority voices and also women, particularly in like cinematography, was the Academy itself was 90% white. Branches like the producers, executives branches were something like 97% white. So when you start to look at the breakdown, it becomes very apparent why there's a systemic issue in the Academy. And then also within the context of the wider industry, there are so few executives who are people who are in that position of an executive, and it's an honorary organization. So it's about there being opportunity and then the recognition that comes from joining the Academy.
Have they gotten better? Are they more diverse? Do they reflect society as society is?
They've gotten more diverse, but there's a caveat to it. So a lot of the Academy, after the Oscar So White scandal, announced that they were going to double diversity numbers by 2020, which of course meant going from 90% white to 80% white. So there's still a lot of issues there. But the key thing is they did not do that by drastically transforming Hollywood, though there has been an impact. And there has been improvement. The way that they did that was becoming a more international organization. So they've become much more global oriented. That's how a film like Parasite won Best Picture in 2020, which it was unheard of prior to that time, but it also at the same time is, very indicative of like what is the overall impact of the industry and how much can the Oscars ultimately change things. I mean, the way I think about them is they're a lens at looking at the industry. They're an incredibly flawed lens, but that's why I'm so fascinated with them, is because they sort of show this mirror of what's going on in the industry and the flaws with it in a way that few other cultural events that are Hollywood geared at least do it.
Interesting. And indeed, if you can't change a picture from Hollywood, then you can't change a picture depending on how you want to see it. We're talking with Dr. Monica Sandler. She is a professor at Ball State University, an expert on the history of Hollywood award shows, talking about the Oscars. It's Oscar weekend. They're coming up on Sunday. We'll have more with Dr. Sandler right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, and I'm running for United States Senate. For 7 years, I've worked with Governor J.B. Pritzker to raise the minimum wage, pass strong gun safety laws, make healthcare more affordable, and create thousands of jobs. I'll go to Washington and continue that work. You deserve a senator who will go to the mat fighting for you. I am that fighter. I'm Juliana Stratton, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Juliana for Illinois.
What if you could have the most reliable Wi-Fi? And get this, what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Just 5 years of fiber-powered Wi-Fi that boosts speeds to the devices that need them most. That finds and fixes problems before you even notice them. Like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. And that keeps you gaming in the fast lane, even when the whole family's banking on bandwidth. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and our best equipment included. Plus, get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi. Hey, let's face it, a lot can change in 5 years. Kids grow taller, dreams grow bigger, but your Wi-Fi, it would stay reliable and the price would stay put. The Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply. Powered by fiber. Connected to the premises by coaxial cable. Actual speeds vary.
Chantel Franklin knows the struggle because she's lived it. As a child, she didn't always have a home to go to, changing schools constantly, struggling to get by. But she turned her troubles into triumph. She's dedicated her life to making sure no other children fall through the cracks. Chantel Franklin helped deliver for us in the Attorney General Kwame Raoul's office, defending our rights and pushing back against Donald Trump's harmful policies. Now Chantel is running for the state house as a Democrat to keep fighting for us. Chantel will work to make housing more affordable and accessible so no child grows up facing housing insecurity like she did. And Chantel will stand up to Donald Trump's harmful policies, including his ICE raids whenever they try to attack our neighbors. Vote for Chantel Franklin by March 17th. That's Chantel Franklin by March 17th. American Future paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. AmericanFuture.org. Not authorized by Chantel Franklin or any federal candidate or candidate.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
Hello, Chicagoland. This is your main man, Tio, Mr. Ceasefire Hardiman. I'm inviting all of my friends, associates, and colleagues to tune in to WVON, The Talk of Chicago, 1690 AM for the Tio, Mr. Ceasefire Hardiman Show. This show will cover all the hottest topics, including politics, reducing gun violence, and so much more, right here every Sunday morning from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. on The Talk of Chicago, 1690 AM, WVON. Thank you.
This report is sponsored by Text Now. Other wireless carriers tell you when to pay. Text Now asks, what do you need? It's app-first phone service without commitments, credit checks, or a carrier attitude. Built for people who stop asking for permission. Download today.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. WVON, traffic and weather now.
Travel times ramping up. You're now looking at 28 minutes on the inbound Ryan from 95th Street to downtown. Getting to the Rhine along the Bishop Ford, 18 minutes in from I-8094, 17 along Tuskegee Airmen Memorial. You still want to factor in that accident. It's off to the shoulder at Sibley, but we are seeing some gate delays because of it. DuSable Lakeshore Drive, a 16-minute trip from 67th Street to Jackson, slow right around Hayes. On the north end of DuSable Drive, Hollywood to Monroe, pretty jammed around Bryn Mawr. You're looking at an hour 15 along the inbound side of the Stevenson from I-355 to DuSable Drive. That's mainly due to that accident blocking the left lane at Kedzie. Pretty solid all the way back to Halstead. If you're on the Eisenhower, you're looking at an hour 10 from Thorndale to the Burns Circle. The outbound trip, 35, and the Kennedy heavy both ways. Inbound from O'Hare to downtown, 55 minutes. Getting to the airport, we're looking at 43. That's mainly due to 2 crashes, one at Montrose, another blocking the left lane at Belmont. Taking a look at our weather, turning sunny today. You want to grab your sunglasses. Temperatures are expected to reach near 40, back down into the 20s tonight. Still holding on to 30 at Midway, 30 in South Shore, and 30 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Anna Flournoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Now back to the morning show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. We are talking with Dr. Monica Sandler. She's a professor at Ball State University and expert on the history of Hollywood award shows on this Oscar weekend. Dr. Sandler, talk about this issue that happened at BAFTA. This has certainly been an impact in our community, an impact in many places. But how does this now impact what will happen this Sunday or even the industry, given what took place there?
Yes. So at the BAFTA Awards, which the entire instance completely boggles the mind. It should be noted. So there was a man with Tourette's syndrome who was attending the ceremony. He shouted out a racial slur amongst many other offensive slurs over the course of at least the early part of the broadcast. What was really notable about that, because I mean, certainly with disability, this is not something that he has control over. What was very much in control was the fact that the BAFTA organization and the BBC in the UK chose to broadcast those offensive slurs over the airwaves, which there was actually a 2-hour time delay between when the ceremony happens and when we actually watched it. And it completely boggles the mind as to what happened during that period of time that permitted it. They also notably did edit out some people who were talking about like Palestine and the Israel-Palestine conflict. That was edited from the ceremony. So, notably within that context, I think that has really been at the center going forward. Like, just, what happens on these ceremonies really, really matters, and the responsibility coming down to those institutions. I would just put to reference to the listeners, there's a really fantastic Substack article by April Rain, who was the originator of the Oscar So White hashtag, that was specifically spoke to this institutional problem that I think is fantastic that everyone should go check out.
Thank you for that. When those things, I mean, we hadn't really paid a lot of attention to BAFTA before this all happened. Now we know BAFTA, but we don't know them in a good way. What is that from your lens? And Hollywood means so much, and the stories that get told mean so much, because that's very often what people see. How do we view where the culture stands? And this is not even in the United States, this is overseas. How does that tell us where we stand culturally with diversity and inclusion?
It really emphasizes sort of a lack of awareness, particularly abroad and in the UK, and that I think is really worth noting. There is, incredible issues of problems with diversity and opportunity for people of color abroad, and it really puts a lens up to the treatment of minority voices in the UK at this time that I think is really important. And one thing that I think is notable about these award shows is that they really draw attention to things. They're very public spaces, and it really put a lens up to the problems at the BBC that they're not addressing.
Indeed. Back to the awards themselves, when we see these award shows happening, we see the different awards coming out, whether it's from the Golden Globes or from BAFTA, from wherever else. Does that give a lens? Does that impact what the other awards would be? Do we look at those and suggest this is what's going to happen this Sunday, or are they fairly independent in how they judge these shows and acts?
Yeah, so there is an impact, and they're kind of twofold. The first being that there is some voter overlap between the winners at the different events in advance. So if you're a member of the Screen Actors Guild Awards, which put on the Actor Awards, which were 2 weeks ago, there are a lot of members who are in the Screen Actors Guild who are also members of the Academy, which means they're voting for both award shows. There are some awards, particularly the Directors Guild, which has a near perfect track record for predicting specifically the best director category, not necessarily best picture, but that there's a lot of overlap. That's what I always tell people if they're thinking about filling out an Oscar ballot for a pool or something, is to look at the Guild Awards corresponding to the category, because you have the same people voting across those different things. The other thing are issues of momentum, that, when someone gets up and gives a really powerful speech, or you get the kind of emotional impact of someone winning, that can really build momentum for the award season process. So people are watching, voters in particular are watching, and that can be really, really impactful. And I know certainly when Michael B. Jordan won Best Actor at the Actors Awards a couple of weeks ago, that was a really powerful moment, particularly Viola Davis's reaction because she was opening the envelope. And I think that helps to build momentum going to an Oscar night.
Okay, I've got to let you go. But we're going to talk again on Monday. I'll ask you 2 predictions before we go. What's going to be the best movie?
It's between 2 films. It's between Sinners and One Battle After Another. I won't say which one because it really is a toss-up. It could go either way, but it is between those 2 films is what I'll say.
And clearly, Ruth Garter is going to win, but will Michael B. Jordan win for Best Actor, or will it be someone else?
It could go a lot of ways, but I will say that I am rooting for him, is what I will say.
Good comments. I look forward to talking to you on Monday. We'll talk about the aftermath of all this, what we thought, what it meant, and how it turned out. Dr. Monica Sandler, professor at Ball State, expert on the history of Hollywood award shows. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Talk to you Monday. Let's find out from Annette what's in the headlines and what's in Black Information News. Got more for you right after this.
Turning mostly sunny today and milder. Temperatures are expected to head near 47. I'm Annette Flernoli, and in the headlines, Governor Pritzker is on his way to join local officials and crews to assess storm damage in Kankakee County. Primary election day is Tuesday, and the deadline to vote by mail is today. And the Obama Foundation is inviting locals to sign up as volunteers ahead of their Juneteenth opening. National news from the Black Information Network is next on Chicago's original social media platform, WVON 1690 AM, Berwyn, Chicago. It's 8:02.
Here's BIN News Now. Longtime Congressman Benny Thompson has won Mississippi's Democratic primary, easily defeating Black 34-year-old challenger Evan Turnage.
I'm running for Congress because I am done waiting for Washington politicians to fix what they've broken.
The 78-year-old is now poised to secure his 18th term in the safely Democratic 2nd District. Human Rights Watch says armed drones used by Haitian security forces and private contractors killed at least 1,200 people and injured more than 700 between March 2025 and January 2026. The UN Human Rights Chief says the force used against gangs likely violates international law. And Netflix is giving a first look at its new series, Man on Fire, starring Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as former Special Forces mercenary John Creasy. The show follows Creasy's fight with PTSD. Man on Fire premieres April 30th. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app. Here's Terry McCready.
Outdated intelligence is believed to be the reason why the U.S. military mistakenly struck an elementary school in Iran.
We've knocked out their Navy, their military in all forms. We've knocked out just about everything there is, including their leadership. Twice. We knocked out twice their leadership.
According to a preliminary investigation by the Pentagon, the military relied on old data that misidentified the school as part of an adjacent Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps naval base. The outdated information was provided by the Defense Intelligence Agency to U.S. Central Command officers. The strike resulted in the deaths of at least 168 children and 14 teachers, as well as sparked widespread concern and criticism. The FBI has reportedly warned California police about Iran targeting the West Coast to retaliate for U.S. attacks on the country. That's according to ABC News, which cited an alert it reviewed. The alert issued at the end of last month said the FBI had information about Iran wanting to launch unmanned drones in a surprise attack in the event of U.S. strikes. It went on to say the threat was specifically against unspecified targets in California. The warning was issued just as the U.S. and Israel launched their strikes on Iran. Meanwhile, senators from both sides of the aisle and witnesses sounding the alarm over the national debt during a Senate Finance Subcommittee hearing yesterday. The concern is for future generations of Americans paying the price for bloated budgets. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office projected last month the federal budget deficit will balloon from $1.9 trillion this year to over $3 trillion by 2036. CBO projections are that the deficit will be 5.8% of the country's gross domestic product this year. The Black former mayor of Dalton, Illinois, is running as a Republican in Georgia for Fulton County Commissioner. Tiffany Henyard is vying to represent southern portions of the county in District 5, and there are 4 Democratic opponents.
I do not like dictatorship. I do not like a hostile takeover.
Henyard sounding off after losing the caucus for Thornton Township supervisor 2 years ago. She was the first woman to serve as mayor of the Chicago suburb and first woman to serve as supervisor there. Her mayoral term was mainly under a dark cloud, and she faced constant scrutiny. A financial probe uncovered the municipality's bank account was over $3.5 million short. She isn't facing any charges currently, but remains under federal investigation for mishandling taxpayer dollars as Thornton Township supervisor. Her campaign in the Peach State could be a flash in the pan, as county records show she hasn't lived there in over a year, which is a requirement for candidacy. Stay informed, stay connected, and subscribe. Follow VIN News this hour wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Terry McCready for the Black Information Network.
This report is sponsored by WeatherBug. Get the fastest local alerts and accurate 24/7 forecasts with WeatherBug. It's easy to use and provide real-time customizable alerts so the weather never takes you by surprise. Plan every day with confidence. Download the free WeatherBug app from the App Store now.
This is Congressman Danny Davis. For decades, the Cook County Assessor's Office was plagued by corruption. That's all changed with Fritz Kowey. Fritz Kowey brought real transparency to the assessor's office, and he's made it easier and more affordable for the people who need it most: seniors, veterans, and people with disabilities. Under Fritz, hundreds of thousands of residents have seen lower tax bills, and for many others, he's kept increases down by making sure wealthy commercial property owners finally pay their fair share. This is what reform looks like: honest, accountable, and on the side of working people. I'm Danny Davis. Join me to support Democrat Fritz Kowey for Cook County Assessor. Primary day is Tuesday, March 17th.
Paid for by Friends for Fritz.
It's Rufus Williams. Honored to have in the studio with me this morning Congressman Danny Davis.
Thank you for your analysis. I heard you as I was coming in and your assessment. I listened to you even when I'm in Washington.
Weekdays at 7 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This is Commissioner Larry Rogers, here to tell you about my friend, Judge Michael Cabinargi. For years, I worked side by side with Michael to fix our property tax system and protect homeowners. We can trust Judge Michael Cabinargi. That's why he is endorsed by the Democratic Party and has the highest bar rankings in the race. Judge Cabinargi is the only candidate with judicial experience, and he deserves our vote on March 17th.
Paid for by Friends of Cabinargi.
Every Friday at 3 p.m., I step behind the mic with one mission: to cut through the noise. I'm David Seaton, WVON's only conservative voice, and trust me, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what you need to hear. I'm unapologetically conservative, proudly anti-progressive, and I don't deal in feelings, I deal in facts. If you're looking for sugar-coated opinions, this isn't your stop. But if you want the truth, straight, no chaser, pull up a chair. The David Seaton Show, Fridays at 3 p.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
The movement for repair is growing, from city halls to parliaments and around the world, from Chicago to Cape Town, from Evanston to the UN. I'm Robin Rousseau.
And I'm Cam Howard. Together we're bringing you Reparations Now, where we talk power, policy, and progress, local, national, and international.
It's about justice.
It's about repair. It's about time.
Reparations now, because justice cannot wait.
Reparations Now, Saturdays at 4 p.m., only on WVON 1690.
This report is sponsored by USPS Ground Advantage. We mean business. Business moves fast. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Our future doesn't wait. Neither should we. Voting is underway for the March 17th election in all 50 wards in Chicago and throughout Cook County. WVON votes.
WVON traffic and weather now.
You're now up to a 30-minute trip along the inbound Ryan from 95th Street to downtown 18, along the inbound Bishop 4 from I-8094 to the Ryan, Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, 17 minutes in. Things are picking up quite a bit along DuSable Lakeshore Drive, right on cue, up to 17 minutes in from 67th Street to Jackson. Pretty heavy around Hayes. On the north end of DuSable Drive, we are now looking at a 20-minute trip in from Hollywood. If you're on the Stevenson, lots going on there. We knew that travel time of an hour 15 was going to come down as people figured out how to go around that accident blocking the left lane at Kedzie. We're now looking at an hour from I-355 to DuSable Drive. If you're on the inbound side of the Eisenhower, you're looking at an hour there as well from Thorndale to the Burns Circle. On the outbound side, you do want to look out for an accident. It's off to the shoulder at 25th. The Kennedy in from O'Hare to downtown, 55 minutes. Getting to the airport, a 40-minute trip. That earlier accident in Montrose now cleared, but that other accident at Belmont is still blocking the left lane. Taking a look at our weather, expected to turn sunny today. Grab your sunglasses. The National Weather Service says we'll see lots of it as temperatures climb into the upper 40s today. Currently, it's 30 still at Midway, 30 in South Holland, and 30 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm NF Lenoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Live from the Xfinity Studios, it's the station that America listens to, WVON, Berwyn, Chicago. It's Rufus Williams on Chicago's essential storyteller, WVON.
You wonder how I do it. It's just one simple rule. I'm just cool. Honey, baby, can't you see? Girl, I'm so cool. Ain't nobody bad like me. Hey. R-U-F-U-S. What's that spell? R-U-F-U-S. I'm just cool. Honey, baby, can't you see? Girl, I'm so cool. Ain't nobody bad like me. Sing it, baby. R-U-F-U-S. What's that thing?
Welcome back. I am happy to have my next guest join. He is a nationally respected cardiologist who connects frontline patient experiences with the systemic failures that are driving gaps in care. He's the William Whitcoff Smith Chair in Cardiovascular Research and Professor of Medicine and Clinical Pharmacology at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia. It is Dr. Peter Kowey. Dr. Kowey, good morning and welcome to WVON.
Thanks, Rufus. Nice to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
No, it's good to have you. You've done a number of things, a lot of research, which makes you nationally respected. But your most recent work, Failure to Treat, talking about these healthcare deserts that exist and its impact on patients and on providers. Talk about that. What is this failure to treat?
So it's Rufus, it's a compilation of 20 short stories. They're all true, anonymized stories about patients and practitioners who went through hell, basically, in our current healthcare system. Difficulties from several different aspects, from having high costs of care, from not being able to access care, to having medical care denials by insurance companies. It's just a variety of things that can happen to all of us, both people who provide care and who receive care, that really make it very difficult in this country to be able to stay healthy.
Dr. Kowey, is this a new phenomenon? When did we start not caring about one another and start creating these situations where we have the opportunity to do more, we're doing less? When and why did this begin?
Well, there are several factors, and it didn't happen overnight. Obviously, this has been going on for years. But the tradition of medicine 50, 60 years ago is that you'd go to the doctor. You had a family doctor you identified with. You were able to get your care at a reasonable cost. In many cases, people were employed, and their employers paid for their health insurance. It just wasn't. There was one-to-one contact with one doctor. There wasn't a lot of bureaucracy or red tape. But But over the course of time, we've turned medicine into a business. And the reason is because medicine generates a lot of money. In this country, we spend $5 trillion on healthcare, which is more than any other developed country in the world by far. It's actually higher than the GDP of many countries in this world. And yet, despite spending all this money, there's a tremendous amount of waste, administrative waste. There are people who are making large amounts of money in private equity, for example, by taking advantage of the healthcare system, and it's turned into a mess. But as I said, it's happened over a long period of time. It was very insidious. People didn't notice it, and now we're facing a crisis on several different levels.
Who's getting impacted the most by these gaps? Is it people in the cities? Is it people in rural areas? The stories that you tell, whose stories are they?
Well, that's another issue in that it's basically everybody. If you talk to anybody and ask them if they've had a problem with their health care, you'll get a story. You'll get a story, a personal story, or somebody in their family has had a thing happen to them that was adverse, that interfered with their ability to get good care. But if you look across socioeconomic profiles, clearly people in the inner cities, people in lower socioeconomic class are the people who are the most disadvantaged, because in the inner cities, and Chicago, just like Philadelphia, you said the word earlier in your introduction, we've created healthcare deserts. So we've had areas now, large areas, where people simply can't access good, high quality primary care. And so they're forced into a situation where a disease that could easily be handled if there was access to a primary care physician, like hypertension, for example, or type 2 diabetes. These diseases are not properly treated, and they blossom into catastrophes. And the only access that these people have is to go to the emergency department. And so we have now fewer hospitals in the inner city that are crammed with people who have catastrophic diseases that could have been treated. And unfortunately, it's hitting African Americans and Hispanics in the inner city predominantly. But it's also happening in rural areas. There are lots of areas outside of Philadelphia, for example, where we've had hospital closures, and people now have to travel miles and miles to get medical care. And the real tragedy here is that the people who need medical care are generally older individuals who don't have a lot of mobility. So they have a difficult time getting to the doctor or getting to a healthcare facility, and yet they don't have access or easy access to any of that. So it cuts across all the socioeconomic classes. But of course, as for a lot of things that happen in this country, people do not have resources are the ones who get punished the most.
We're talking to Dr. Peter Kowey. He's giving us a story that's not good about our healthcare centers, the healthcare gaps, and his upcoming book, Failure to Treat. We'll have more with Dr. Kowey right after this.
Morning Show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Tuned in to your favorite WVON personalities on Facebook Live? Don't just watch, like it, love it, share it. Every click helps us grow the conversation and keep the community strong. So remember, like it, love it, share it, Chicago.
Hi, I'm Richard Boykin, and I want to be your next congressman in the 7th Congressional District. I have a sense of urgency. Now is the time to reverse the cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, and SNAP benefits. Now is the time to extend the Obamacare subsidies. Now is the time to close the life expectancy gap and other healthcare disparities. Now is the time to close the wealth disparity. Now is the time to close the achievement gap. Now is the time to protect Social Security for our senior citizens. Now is the time to pass a constitutional amendment recognizing healthcare as a right. Now is the time to make housing more affordable. Now is the time to fight. Punch 39. Richard Boykin for Congress. Paid for and authorized by Richard Boykin for Congress.
With your help, the Illinois Lottery generated $784 million for education last year. Play all your favorite Illinois Lottery games today to help raise even more. Be smart, play smart. Must be 18 or older to play. Game odds available at IllinoisLottery.com.
Illinois, we need to be able to trust our next senator. And Juliana Stratton isn't being honest about who she is. Stratton's massive super PAC is funded by the very contractor running the Broadview ICE Detention Center. ICE raids Chicago. Stratton benefits from ICE contractor cash. Juliana Stratton even got caught lying about refusing money from MAGA donors. We can't trust Juliana Stratton. Democrat Robin Kelly is a real progressive. Unbought, unbossed.
Outstanding members of the House of Representatives, Robin Kelly.
Barack Obama knows. Robin Kelly always fights for us. Lowering costs, raising wages, stopping gun violence. Real progressive Robin Kelly for U.S. Senate. Endorsed by the Congressional Black Caucus and elect Democratic women. Paid for by Protect Progress and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. Protect Progress is responsible for the content of this advertising. www.protectprogresspac.com.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com. If you have a 2004 or newer vehicle that's out of warranty or about to be, Endurance is urgently notifying U.S. drivers about their low-cost vehicle coverage plan designed to save drivers thousands on rising vehicle repair costs. Those who qualify can pick their plan, coverage, and repair shop. Roadside service, towing, and rental cars included. All covered repairs get paid directly to the repair shop for you. Call now for your free quote. Call 800-295-6576. 800-295-6576.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, and I'm running for United States Senate. For 7 years, I've worked with Governor J.B. Pritzker to raise the minimum wage, pass strong gun safety laws, make healthcare more affordable, and create thousands of jobs. I'll go to Washington and continue that work. You deserve a senator who will go to the mat fighting for you. I am that fighter. I'm Juliana Stratton, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Juliana for Illinois.
This report is sponsored by Staples. Want a great way to boost your brand? Custom labels at Staples will help packages pop, shipments stand out, and takeout boxes really pop off. Shop now through April 18th and save 30% on all custom labels. Staples, that was easy.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Still looking at 30 minutes on the inbound Ryan from 95th Street into downtown. Getting to the Ryan along the Bishop Ford, just around 18 minutes still from I-8094. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, still 17 minutes. If you're on DuSable Lakeshore Drive, things are filling up fast. You'll need 18 minutes from 67th Street to Jackson. Still slow right around Hayes. That trip from Hollywood to Monroe, just about 21 minutes. If you're on the inbound Stevenson, things are pretty much a mess. Still solid right around Kedzie. That's due to an accident blocking the left lane. Traffic finally going around it, giving you just about an hour travel time in from I-355 to DuSable Drive. You'll need an hour on the Eisenhower from Thorndale to the Burns Circle on the outbound side. Just about a 40-minute trip. Still factor in that earlier crash at 25th Avenue. The Kennedy, in from O'Hare to downtown. 55 minutes getting to the airport. 40, you want to factor in an accident blocking the left lane at Belmont. Taking a look at our weather. The National Weather Service says, make sure you grab those sunglasses. We're in for a sunny day in Chicago as temperatures climb into the upper 40s. Currently holding steady at 30 at Midway, 30 in South Holland, and 30 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flournoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. We're talking with Dr. Peter Kowey. He's a professor of medicine and clinical pharmacology at the Thomas Jefferson University, former chief of cardiovascular diseases at Lucknow Heart Institute, and he holds the William Wyckoff Smith Chair in Cardiovascular Research. He's got a long bio, done a number of phenomenal things, has a forthcoming book titled Failure to Treat: How a Broken Healthcare System Puts Patients and Practitioners at Risk. Dr. Kowey, when you talk about these healthcare deserts, the things that we've discussed in the previous segment, this seems that this is going to make people suffer for longer, suffer more, and even cause death. Who can do something about this?
Well, by the way, I was listening to commercial for Richard Boykin. I'm going to come out to Chicago and vote for that guy because he had a number of really superb ideas about what he wants to try to do in Congress. What we need, Rufus, is we need to galvanize our legislators to pass legislation that provides health care for everybody. Now, I know that this concept of Medicare for all, or whatever Bernie Sanders called it, is not the most popular idea because there's a lot of distrust of what might happen if the government were to take over medical care. But we simply can't go on like this. We simply cannot have this patchwork system in which 30 million people in this country can't get health insurance, where people who have Medicaid are suffering because they can't get the same services as people who have more money than they do. We just simply can't keep the price of drugs as high as they are, where people have to make a decision about whether they're going to buy groceries or buy medicines. If the system is simply not working, if there's one thing that we can do, I mean, there's lots of stuff we could do, but it's basically putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. What we really need to do is we really need to make sure that everybody in the United States, as Mr. Boykin said, has the right to have medical care. And this isn't a mind-blowing topic or idea. Every other developed country in the world provides medical care for their citizens. We are the outlier. We're the only country where we force people into a system where they can potentially go bankrupt. Did you know, Rufus, for example, that the most common cause of a citizen in the United States declaring bankruptcy is medical debt? That's basically where we're forcing people into situations where they simply can't take care of themselves. And when you're sick, Rufus, you can't do anything else. I mean, illness paralyzes people, and we just simply can't let people wallow in their illnesses, and because we're losing productivity. If we were able to keep our citizens healthier, this would just be a much better country than we become. So it's the priority is off the charts.
Dr. Kowey, I feel the frustration in your voice as you say this, and you've talked to people all around the stories that you tell in failure to treat. So, and I will make sure that Richard Boykin knows that he's got an endorsement on the show this morning from a highly respected cardiologist out of Philadelphia. But when we think about who we need and how we need those people to make these changes, this healthcare system and the cost that exists, is that really because people don't trust others? We're in a society such as ours, with as many resources as we have, truly, why is it that we are leaving people out as we're doing it in these different areas?
One of the root causes of this, Rufus, is that we have physicians and nurses and healthcare providers who really, really care about patients, who dedicated their lives to taking care of people who have the best intentions, are no longer in charge of the healthcare system. We have ceded control to corporates, to executives, to bean counters, to medical insurance companies that want to make a profit. And their priority is not the same as our priority. Their priority is to make a profit. And as soon as you introduce a profit motive into healthcare, you bastardize it and you turn it into something that it shouldn't be. And that's that's the root cause. That's why we have all the problems we have. Let me just give you an example, Rufus. For example, because the bean counters want to make a lot more money, they tell the practitioners, you have 10 minutes to see a patient. 10 minutes, think about this. You have 10 minutes to see a patient who may have 5 different diseases and be on 10 different drugs, who has a number of questions. And in that 10 minutes, not only are you supposed to see the patient and examine the patient, you're also supposed to generate some kind of a medical record that is enduring. It is literally an impossibility. So we're burning out the practitioners who are trying to keep up and trying to take care of their patients because of this insane profit motive that we have to generate revenue. Until we take that away, until we de-incentivize people for doing procedures, for doing testing that may not be necessary, until we make those changes, we can't expect any differences in the healthcare system. It's just simply not going to get better.
Oh, and if you should misdiagnose someone, you'll get sued in this litigious
Please.
system.
Please, Rufus, there's a whole story. One of the stories in the book, as you know, is about the malpractice situation and how it generates defensive medicine. The upwards of 50% of tests that doctors order in their office is because they're covering their ass. It has nothing to do with patient benefit. The waste that's generated by all of this money being sucked out of our healthcare system by billionaire lawyers who are suing doctors left and right for things that the doctor probably had no responsibility for is just it's a tragedy. Another area where we have not been able to move our legislators to make meaningful reform in torts, and that has really fueled the situation. You're absolutely right.
Dr. Kowey, you're speaking so much truth. I wish we had more time to talk. When is your book out?
It's out. It's Failure to Treat. And if you want to look at get an idea of what it is, it's my website is Peter Kowey, Kowey, author.com. And that website has all the information. It's on Amazon. It's, the usual places. But if you want to read about some of the interviews and stuff, that's where to go.
Dr. Kowey, thank you so much for your work. Thanks for elevating all of this. And thanks so much for being with us this morning. We truly appreciate it.
The thanks is to you, Rufus, for having me and for airing some of these issues. I really deeply appreciate it.
Indeed. Stay well, my friend. We'll talk again.
Yes, take care.
All right. Let's find out from Annette what's going on in the news. When we come back, I wish I had some good stories to tell. We'll get to them eventually someday. Actually, I do have some good stories to tell. I'll tell you about them right after this.
A brisk start to your Thursday morning here in Chicago, but the National Weather Service says we're expected to see some sunshine with temperatures in the upper 40s. Good morning. I'm Annette Flournoy, and here's what's happening. Governor Pritzker is on his way to join crews to assess storm damage in Kankakee County. The National Weather Service confirmed that one of the twisters that touched down in Illinois and Lake Village, Indiana, was an EF3 tornado with peak winds of around 150 miles per hour. 2 people died in Indiana, a husband and wife, both in their 80s. The Trump administration wants the Supreme Court to end the temporary protected status for roughly 350,000 Haitians now living in the United States. The administration put in an emergency request to the Supreme Court on Wednesday. The Justice Department has also asked to end temporary protected status designations for Syrians as well. Well, earlier this week, former President Obama made it official that the Obama Center will open this summer to mark the Juneteenth holiday. Now, they're looking for ambassadors to join. Perry Williams explains.
The Civilian Office of Police Accountability reports that the man shot and killed by police on Monday was in a car that was wanted in a shooting on the Eisenhower Expressway.
That's obviously not the right clip. In other news, the state of Illinois is unveiling a new program that provides eligible first-time homebuyers with up to a $15,000 down payment. The money could also go toward the closing cost. The program is called IHDA Access Home. Eligibility includes the borrower's credit profile, household income, and the price of the home. Potential homebuyers must complete a pre-purchase counseling session. For more information, go to the Illinois Housing Development Authority website. Well, that's a look at our news now on 1690 WVON. Traffic and weather up next. WVON News Time, 8:34.
Illinois, we need to be able to trust our next senator. And Juliana Stratton isn't being honest about who she is. Stratton's massive super PAC is funded by the very contractor running the Broadview ICE Detention Center. ICE raids Chicago. Stratton benefits from ICE contractor cash. Juliana Stratton even got caught lying about refusing money from MAGA donors. We can't trust Juliana Stratton. Democrat Robin Kelly is a real progressive. Unbought, unbossed.
Outstanding members of the House of Representatives, Robin Kelly.
Barack Obama knows. Robin Kelly always fights for us. Lowering costs, raising wages, stopping gun violence. Real progressive Robin Kelly for U.S. Senate. Endorsed by the Congressional Black Caucus and elect Democratic women. Paid for by Protect Progress and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. Protect Progress is responsible for the content of this advertising. www.protectprogresspac.com.
When your body needs real nourishment, don't settle for ordinary supplements. At the Aloe Shop, we believe wellness starts with nature. That's why our premium aloe and nutritional products are crafted with the highest standards, pure, potent, and made to support your health from the inside out. From digestion and energy to immune support, the Aloe Shop helps you feel your best every day. The Aloe Shop at 117 East 95th Street in Chicago. Call 866-256-3747 or reach us online at thealoeshop.com. Come on in and get healthy. Now available at Living Fresh Market in Forest Park and at Pete's Market throughout Chicagoland.
Knock, knock, Capital One Bank guy.
Wow, Charles Barkley?
I just moved into the neighborhood. Can I borrow some Wi-Fi?
Yeah, sure, Chuck. That's what the Capital One Cafe is here for. Open 7 days a week at most locations.
Oh, can I use your ATM? My dog walker only takes cash.
Anything for a neighbor.
Can I try the catchphrase?
Sure, take it for a spin.
There's no fees and minimums on Capital One checking accounts.
Nice, Chuck. I'll take it from here. Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Visit CapitalOne.com/bank guide for details. Capital One and a member FDIC.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Charmin Ultra Strong. You can use less, better than the rest. Charmin Ultra Strong. Booty past the clean test. Salmon weave texture, it's the best. Study up, teach a lesson all fresh. Your booty past the clean test. Yes, sir. Charmin Ultra Strong.
Charmin Ultra Strong with diamond weave texture cleans better than the leading one-ply brand, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
It's time to focus with Robert McKay. Quality conversation, protecting, preserving, and preparing our past, present, and future. Sunday evenings at 4 p.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. Every Sunday, now you'll be able to listen to the First Church of Deliverance here on 1690 WVON and on the iHeartRadio app at 11 p.m. Tune in for inspirational music, powerful word, and a blessing from the Lord. That's the First Church of Deliverance, Sundays at 11 p.m. right here on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. Follow us at fcdchicago.org.
This report is brought to you by Staples. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $125 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends November 1st, plus save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
WVON, traffic and weather now.
Traffic much heavier along DuSable Lakeshore Drive. That trip from 67th Street to Jackson, 18 minutes. Heavy right around Hayes. Then again, right around Soldier Field. On the north end of DuSable Lakeshore Drive, we are looking at just about 25 minutes from Hollywood to Monroe. Right now, pretty solid already starting at Lawrence. As you make your way along the Ryan, you do want to look out for an accident. It is on the ramp at Marquette. Your inbound travel time still just about 28 minutes from 95th Street to downtown. Getting to the Ryan along the Bishop Ford, give yourself 18 in from I-8094. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, still that 17-minute trip in. The Stevenson, a big improvement, but still heavy right around Kedzie due to that accident still blocking the left lane there at Kedzie. Traffic is finally going around it. We are looking at just about a 50-minute trip from I-355 to DuSable Drive. Inbound along the Eisenhower, heavy and slow at an hour 13 from Thorndale to the Burns Circle, 40 on the return trip. The Kennedy in from O'Hare to downtown, just shy of an hour. As you make your way to the airport, give yourself 42 minutes. The brisk conditions are going to give way to plenty of sunshine today as temperatures climb near 47. The National Weather Service says we're going to dip right back down to around 29 tonight. Still holding on to 30 at O'Hare. It's 30 in Rosemore and 30 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm NF Lenoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. And I will tell you, this is really going to be good. Don't miss this rare and powerful conversation about our city's future. It's taking place this evening, March 12th, Thursday, tonight, 6 p.m. You want to join the intergenerational debate, Chicago's Power Question. It's a discussion that's moderated by me, along with entrepreneur Robert Blackwell Jr. and acclaimed documentarian Lee Allen Jones. They'll go head to head in a candid discussion about who holds power in Chicago, how it shifted, and what it takes to rebuild it. It all happens at Killer Spin House, 140 South Clark Street, Suite 180. The doors open at 5 and the debate begins at 6 p.m. If for some reason you cannot be there in person, watch the conversation live on Vine TV's live stream. Be a part of the dialogue shaping Chicago's future this evening, 6 p.m. at Killer Spin House. You do not want to miss this. I am going to see the Joffrey to moderate this conversation between Lee Allen and Robert. It is going to be great. Be there. Check it out on Vine TV. But whatever you do, don't miss it. Now, I said I was going to come back with some good news. Here's the good news. We often hear at this time of year about Simeon and Whitney Young and Julian in basketball going downstate. It is that time. It's March. March Madness is here. The West Side is going to be very well represented with Marshall and Farragut high schools going downstate. And Leo can do more than sing and dance. They can also hoop. They're going downstate as well. This is great, Titus.
I love all of this. I love March. It's my favorite time of year, not just because it's my birthday, because of the sports. You get basketball, you get football, you got the beginning, well, a little bit of football with the spring league coming, and then you also get baseball coming in. So I love this time of year.
Yeah, I love high school basketball. I just haven't been able to see it for some reason lately, but to see that these schools are rising, this is truly, truly wonderful. So congratulations to all of them. We'll talk about them on Friday, or we'll talk about them on Monday. We'll talk about them when we can, but congratulations. Now, back to the real stuff. The other real stuff. Happy to have my next guest join. She's kind of shared some flexibility with us and able to have this conversation. But it's Heather Bellino. She is the Chief Executive Officer at the Texas Advocacy Project, which for some time has really been working in the space of dealing with teen dating violence, with sexual abuse awareness, sexual assault, child abuse, stalking, human trafficking, all the things that really are needed to keep people safe. Heather Bellino, good morning and welcome to WVON.
Good morning, Rufus. Thank you for having me.
No, it's an honor to have you. Talk to us first. What you guys do is legal advocacy. What is that exactly?
Well, thanks for asking. Texas Advocacy Project provides free civil, and it's different than criminal, but civil legal services to victims of domestic and dating violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, and child abuse, as you just mentioned. But what that looks like is different for every victim when they are on their path to becoming a survivor. So it might be a protective order. It might be divorce, custody of your children. It might be help getting out of your lease because the perpetrator who sexually assaulted you is 4 doors down. So it really depends on what has happened to you and what you choose as the remedy that works best for your long-term safety. But it is any one of those court orders that can make sure that you're insulated in that safety net.
Tell us more about that, because how does it make a difference when you're dealing with victims of dating or domestic violence or sexual assault?
Well, there are so many statistics out there, but the one that really hits home for me is that if you have a protective order and you have been a victim of domestic violence, you are 80% less likely to be re-victimized again. So that's a real safety feature, right? If you have been, harmed by the person that you thought you were in love with, somebody that you're living with, and there is some remedy, some court order out there that has a strong enough consequence for the perpetrator so that they no longer harm you, that matters. That's very important. It is not just a piece of paper. It is a path to safety.
Well, so often these documents are there and people still are being harassed or still being troubled by the perpetrators. Talk about how this burden of proof really becomes an issue for people and how they can be empowered to represent themselves in court, given the expense of legal representation.
Well, I appreciate that you brought up the expense of it. There are, again, so many studies out there that are showing that there just are not enough attorneys available for free to people who need them the most. And there are some quotes, justice has to be for all. It can't be just for one. So we do need to make sure that there are enough civil legal service providers out there to help everybody. Think about everything that we do in life. There is a legal string to it. Home ownership, you have a mortgage. Marriage, there's a contract. These all mean that if you want to step out of them or get away from them, it's very hard to do without representation. There is opportunities for assisted pro se, meaning that you self-represent, but it is always best if there is a system around it to make sure that you are filing your papers properly, that you are going to court on time. So it is important for legal aids to be able to help people. And in the case of Texas Advocacy Project, that's exactly what we do. It's free. We make sure that people do not have that burden of having to pay for their attorney, but do have that safety of having a professional being able to look at the actual facts of their case, make sure that the remedy that they are pursuing fits those facts, and then it helps them to file all of their court documents and understand exactly how to work within that legal justice system.
Heather, unfortunately, this is a really widespread problem, and we're speaking to you from the Texas Advocacy Project, and you don't need to know all of them, but are there other advocacies for the same kinds of things in other states around the country?
Oh, absolutely. I would always suggest calling the National Domestic Violence Hotline because they're going to put you in touch with your local resources. But I know you're there in Chicago, and there is a Legal Aid of Chicago. There's also Wings Chicago, which is a shelter and advocacy and counseling organization. And, most states have children's advocacy centers, and Chicago houses one too. So there are a lot of resources right there in your backyard. In fact, I lived there 25 years ago, and Chicago is one of the greatest places in the world. And it does have a really good, strong, coordinated community response.
Yeah, we are. I can't argue with you about that. We're talking with Heather Bellino. She is the CEO of the TAP, the Chief Executive Officer at the Texas Advocacy Project, talking about the empowerment of victims of dating and domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, stalking, and human trafficking, and the advocacy that's done to help them in their journey. We'll have more with Heather right after this.
Hi, I'm Richard Boykin, and I want to be your next congressman in the 7th Congressional District. I have a sense of urgency. Now is the time to reverse the cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, and SNAP benefits. Now is the time to extend the Obamacare subsidies. Now is the time to close the life expectancy gap and other health care disparities. Now is the time to close the wealth disparity. Now is the time to close the achievement gap. Now is the time to protect Social Security for our senior citizens. Now is the time to pass a constitutional amendment recognizing health care as a right. Now is the time to make housing more affordable. Now is the time to fight. Punch 39. Richard Boykin for Congress. Paid for and authorized by Richard Boykin for Congress.
Remember when getting your hair done wasn't just a beauty ritual, but a bonding experience? From hot combs in Grandma's kitchen to laughter in the local beauty salon, it's a journey rooted in love, legacy, and style. Join Nidra Williams, owner of Solo Beauty Supply, for the business of black hair Tuesday nights from 9 to midnight. She's bringing the sisterhood back. One story, one strand at a time. It's more than hair, it's heritage. Join the sisterhood Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. on the Talk of Chicago, WVON.
Chantel Franklin knows the struggle because she's lived it. As a child, she didn't always have a home to go to, changing schools constantly, struggling to get by. But she turned her troubles into triumph. She's dedicated her life to making sure no other children fall through the cracks. Chantel Franklin helped deliver for us in the Attorney General Kwame Raoul's office. defending our rights, and pushing back against Donald Trump's harmful policies. Now, Chantel is running for the state house as a Democrat to keep fighting for us. Chantel will work to make housing more affordable and accessible, so no child grows up facing housing insecurity like she did. And Chantel will stand up to Donald Trump's harmful policies, including his ICE raids whenever they try to attack our neighbors. Vote for Chantel Franklin by March 17th. That's Chantel Franklin by March 17th. American Future paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. AmericanFuture.org. Not authorized by Chantel Franklin or any federal candidate or committee.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com. If you have a 2004 or newer vehicle that's out of warranty or about to be, Endurance is urgently notifying U.S. drivers about their low-cost vehicle coverage plan designed to save drivers thousands on rising vehicle repair costs. Those who qualify can pick their plan, coverage, and repair shop. Roadside service, towing, and rental cars included. All covered repairs get paid directly to the repair shop for you. Call now for your free quote. Call 800-295-6576. 800-295-6576.
Maria Pappas with Black Houses Matter.
We're up to way over 400 million here. Yeah, giving money back. How about that? People in Bellwood got 10 million, Broadview 6 million, Burnham 3 million, South Holland 17 million. The city of Chicago's up to $190 million that we have given back to African Americans. Who does that? Nobody does that but WVON.
Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas with Black Houses Matter, Monday mornings at 11:30 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Robin Kelly grew up behind the register in her dad's grocery store, so she knows what it means when the same groceries cost more each week. Under Donald Trump, corporations get tax breaks, loopholes, and a green light to price gouge. Families get higher grocery bills, higher childcare costs, high healthcare premiums. It's Trump's economy. Corporate profits first, people last. In Congress, Robin Kelly's been fighting back. Robin took on insurance companies to lower drug costs. She wrote the law extending Medicaid for new moms to a full year because cutting care after 60 days was just wrong. And now Robin Kelly is running for Senate with a people over profits agenda. Medicare for all, so healthcare isn't a ripoff. Cap on childcare costs so families can work. And crack down on corporate price gouging so you're not punished at every turn. People over profits. Robin Kelly for U.S. Senate.
I'm Robin Kelly, Democrat running for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Robin Kelly for Senate.
This report is sponsored by Staples. Want a great way to boost your brand? Custom labels at Staples will help packages pop, shipments stand out, and takeout boxes really pop off. Shop now through April 18th and save 30% on all custom labels. Staples. That was easy.
WVON traffic and weather now.
The inbound Ryan is still moving at about a 30-minute pace in from 95th Street into downtown. Getting to the Ryan along the Bishop Ford, holding on to 18 minutes in from I-80-94. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, now a 17-minute trip in from I-80. Heavier on DuSable Lakeshore Drive, 67th Street to Jackson, 18 minutes. Slow at Hayes, then again at Soldier Field. As you make your way along the north end of DuSable Lakeshore Drive, Hollywood to Monroe, just about a 22-minute trip. 50 minutes still along the Stevenson end from I-355 to the Drive, still holding on to just about an hour 13 on the inbound Eisenhower from Thorndale to the Burns Circle, outbound a 40-minute trip. The Kennedy now just shy of an hour from O'Hare to downtown, getting to the airport, still that 42-minute trip. Turning sunny and mild today, temperatures are expected to head into the upper 40s today. 47 is the official high, dipping back down to 29 tonight. It's 33 at O'Hare, 33 in Jackson Park, and 33 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flournoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. We're talking with Heather Bellino. She is the Chief Executive Officer at the Texas Advocacy Project, championing the empowerment of victims of dating and domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, stalking, and human trafficking. Heather, when we think about these things, they typically don't begin immediately. It's gradually then people find themselves in the midst of this abuse. What can you talk to us about, or talk to them about as they're listening, about the importance of planning, safety planning, and assessing their situation to try and get out of it?
Oh, that is definitely true, Rufus. This is not something that happens overnight. Speaking specifically to like domestic or dating violence, nobody falls in love with somebody who is going to ultimately try to exert power and control over them and possibly cause them physical harm or even death. So you are absolutely right. This is a slow, methodical process. And it does happen, as I mentioned a second ago, because it's based on power and control. It is not for any other reason except that somebody wants to really have that total domination over another person. So it sometimes will look like isolation in the beginning, where they may start saying, well, I don't want you to spend time with that friend, or they might start pulling you away from your family because they understand that those are resources and people who may step in to help you. And they will do that slowly. You might not even notice until one day you haven't talked to a family member or friend in 6 months. And then it becomes harder and harder to reach out to that person. It also will look like wanting to be with you at all times or know where you are at all times. And as you can imagine, it is so much more difficult now to step away and, have your own personal space than it's ever been with the onslaught of social media and tracking devices and all of the things. So, that layers upon it also. And then there is the opportunity for people to then start doing things to others that unfortunately in our society causes a victim to feel shame and therefore hide what's happening. And that's so sad, right? Because somebody should not feel shameful that someone else is harming you. But I do think it's a problem with our society because for many years we've, spent a ton of time victim blaming. Why don't they leave? What did they do to provoke them? All of those questions just have compounded this sort of like, I almost feel like in our DNA. And that is something that we have to step away from. And I really encourage people to talk to others with a non-judgmental place and to be open to say, when you're ready, I'll be there for you to give you help. And that is when safety planning really does make a difference. I had a good friend that we'd spent a lot of time together. One day she was telling me, do you remember last summer when I kept wearing my big floppy hats? And I said, yeah. I was like, what's up with that trend? And, those big, giant glasses that I thought made you look so sophisticated and fabulous. Turns out she had been hiding a broken socket of her eye. And I couldn't believe that she didn't feel safe enough to even turn to me. So this is where I've made a concerted effort to say, we as a society really have to open up to people and say that we are a safe place for you. And understanding that there are resources in your area is a one way to make somebody feel that they're not alone and that they can get help. But little things like making sure that there's a safe word. If you're going to be in a position where you need help and you're on the phone with a friend and you have that one word, you can use it. For me, we happened to play tennis, and that day we would say, we're going to lob all day during our tennis match. And that meant she needed the police to be called immediately. So, working around that, but there are professionals that can really help individualize what we call an advanced and fluid safety plan, because it'll be different for everybody. But little tips that I feel kind of go across the gamut are, if somebody is in your home and they're, chasing you into a certain room, please don't go to the kitchen. That's where all the knives are. Try not to go into a bathroom, and lock yourself in. You're not going to get out of there. Make sure that you have clear egresses in your room, both in your house, maybe 2 doors to get through, but don't have a giant couch in the way if you need to run through. So, things like that are important, but those are so, baseline, and they don't really work for everybody, right? You might live in a 1-bedroom apartment and there's nowhere to run. So, I do really, really encourage people to reach out to local support systems in order to have a professional really walk through what your life looks like and how best to keep you safe and what safety means for you.
Heartbreaking, stunning that people would do that to people, and people have to live under those circumstances. But it's good that you exist to try and help people work through it and to really be an advocate for those who are experiencing these things. Heather Bellino, Chief Executive Officer at the Texas Advocacy Project, thank you so much for continuing this information, recognizing that February was Teen Dating Violence Month and April is Sexual Abuse Awareness Month. Just things to really continue to elevate it and continue to elevate the work that you're doing at the Texas Advocacy Project and others who are advocating on behalf of these victims around the country. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Rufus, thank you so much for having me and continuing to shine a light on this important topic.
Indeed.
You're wonderful.
Oh, thank you. As are you. Be well, my friend.
You too.
All right. We'll leave it right there for today, ladies and gentlemen. A hard show, a lot of tough topics, but we've got to shed the light on them because it's the only way we're going to fix them. Annette, love you. Appreciate you. All the information you give us that gets through the day and the way in which you do it. It's wonderful. And T-Dub, we got a lot going on and you keep it all happening. So we appreciate you for making the sausage taste good. Thanks so much for making all these things happen. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll ask you, as we go through the course of the day, you will come across people who are dealing with things that you know absolutely nothing about. So please be kind always and pay attention because you may be getting a signal from someone who really needs your help. With that, Annette, please tell us what's in the headlines, and T-Dub, take us home.
There's lots of sunshine ahead on this Thursday, March 12th, 2026. I'm in Flournoy, into the headlines. An Illinois legislator is proposing a bill to name a portion of the Dan Ryan Expressway after the late Reverend Jesse L. Jackson. Governor Pritzker is on his way to join local officials and crews to assess storm damage in Kankakee County. And primary day is Tuesday, and the deadline to vote by mail is today. National news from the Black Information Network is next on Chicago's original social media platform, WVON 1690 AM, Berwyn, Chicago.